Well, in the 25 years that I've been here, I've seen very dramatic changes that most likely is due to climate change.
This is the world. That's you and that's me. The world has the perfect temperature to keep all living things alive and happy. This temperature depends on a balance. The sun's heat goes to Earth to make it warm. The sun's heat bounces back to space to make the Earth cool. When this balance is lost, the climate changes. The Earth's climate has changed many times before. This is called natural climate change. It's caused by volcanic eruptions, changes in the sun's energy, and changes in the Earth's orbit. Greenhouse gases also make the Earth warmer. They trap heat from the sun. Greenhouse gases are like a blanket covering the Earth. It started in the 1700s. Humans started to build more things. We burned coal to make electricity. We burn oil to make our cars and planes move. We use chemicals to make things. We cut down lots of trees. We burn gas to cook food. We dump lots of trash on landfills. We plant a lot more rice. All these things release greenhouse gases. Remember the blanket over the Earth? Because of humans, it got much, much thicker. When I get hot, I sweat. I even get dizzy. Imagine the Earth. Because it's hotter, glaciers and ice sheets are melting. Seas are rising, storms are getting stronger, some places are getting dry. Even the sea is getting warmer.
Water temperature has been 4 to 7 degrees warmer up here in the past year or two. These warmer waters is changing something in the ecosystem that's impacting the birds and their whole food chain. The phytoplankton, the zooplankton, and then the next step up, the fish. So if the fish aren't getting enough food, there aren't as many fish as are necessary, the birds come back in the summer and they say, there's not enough here for me to raise a chick, so they just don't bother to nest. The different colonies on the Copper River this year, the Caspian tern colony failed. We've had as many as 400 pairs nesting at the colony on the Copper River. We had one nest there when we went in June, which is when we always go every year, one. And so there just wasn't the food available, and we saw that happening with the gulls too. There's typically 10,000 pairs in this area on the Copper River nesting, and they weren't nesting. There were just a few pairs nesting. One of the outcomes of climate change is more severe storms. I mean, we're seeing that down in the lower 48, and we're seeing that up here in Alaska, where you can get some very enormous storm systems coming through. And so a place like a barrier island is very susceptible to change if a big storm comes through. It can totally change the environment, totally flood out the island and change the sands around. So that's one of the reasons why we think that the birds are nesting higher and higher now in the sand dunes.
I think that weather is probably the biggest thing that determines how we live our lives here, how we do our subsistence.
Growing up in Alaska, we've always lived off the land.
Our economy is hand in glove with the ecology around here. It's the reason everyone keeps returning like the salmon. I'm Tori Baker, and I live here in Cordova. I would say in the last 15 years, we haven't had many ice skating times that we used to have. Sometimes our ice skating season will last a good 5 weeks. Now it's just a weekend or two, or 5 or 6 days here and there.
My name's Mike Collins. I'm from Cordova, Alaska. I'm a local aviator. I fly airplanes a lot. With all the warmer water that we've been having the last few years, we're getting more warmer water type fish that are moving into the area. So last summer we saw this white fish type looking creature. I didn't even know what it was, and it ended up being a mola. It's a giant tropical sunfish that belongs in the tropical waters, and so there's some very interesting things happening in the ocean right now.
My name is Sylvia Lang. I'm born and raised here in Cordova. I'm on my mother's side, I'm Tlingit. On my father's side, I'm Aleut. And we'd often go over to Columbia Glacier, and when we could sit there and watch it calve all day, and there was huge chunks of ice coming up. And then the Columbia Glacier retreated at some point, and what used to be kind of a little point that came out of the glacier became an island, and it's miles away from the glacier. It used to be part of that glacier in my lifetime.
We're managing the relationship of humans to this ecosystem. And the better that we, in a raw sense, understand how this ecosystem is put together, that's really important.
So you have to, as scientists, measure things, and you have to measure things repeatedly. You have to develop hypotheses like Caspian terns didn't nest. We think they didn't nest because there's not enough food. So then you need to go out then and measure that food. So you've got to develop the questions, then go out and try to answer them by collecting the information that might answer those questions.
There's always a new way to put observations together. We have some of this citizen-based monitoring that we can do that can be plugged in to experts.
Everybody plays a role, and everybody can participate in taking care of the earth and making it better. And especially we need to take care of, where we live, because it's such a special place.